TGC Requiem. This is Death Shadow Gen. We're doing a league. We are going to be on the play. This is a terrible hand. That's a good hand. So one of the things I kind of talk about in the deck tech is looking for ways to turn on Traverse. And we have turn 1 hand disruption into turn 2 fetch Tarfire, probably ourselves, which would allow us to traverse. So that's good. Not knowing what our opponent's on, I think this is a good card to keep on top, which means we will need to lead with the Godless Shrine. And per usual, I am terrible about keeping the match status up to date. So this is 0-0. So probably like red-green land destruction. Though it's quite possible so Arbor Elf paired with Utopia Sprawl is like the most explosive thing they can be doing. Knowing we have the Abrupt Decay, it's possible that it's worth letting them keep the Blood Moon, but that's risky for sure. We also could just Abrupt Decay the Utopia Sprawl after killing, yeah. Which then just makes me wonder if it's through the breach that we should take. Yeah, I think we're just going to take Blood Moon. So it's possible this could also be like Tooth and Nail, some sort of Tooth and Nail ramp deck. So we're gonna hope he runs out Arbor Elf, which sets up the Utopia Sprawl to tap for a bunch of mana the next turn. So ideally we're going to be tar firing and then traversing for probably Death Shadow, maybe Tarmogoyf. The problem here is we can't do both this turn. In which case I think we actually want to Fatal push the Arbor Elf, which will allow us to Tarfire ourselves to make our Death Shadow bigger, which right now we wouldn't even be able to cast. Death Shadow. Probably going to get a Cinderglade here. I'm assuming he doesn't have a ton of action. So the risk we run here, however, is... Oh god, I've played these decks. So I could go get... Death Shadow. But Death Shadow... Not only can he die to Lightning Bolt, they often run this... what's it? Is it Primeval Command, or that allows you to have target player gain 7 life, and then they just kill your own. I think we're actually just going to go for a Tarmogoyf here, just to be on the safe side, and he would be pretty big. It also allows us to hold up Fatal Push in case a creature does come down this turn. So at this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, we may have to... Geez, we might have to end up abrupt decaying here. One, two, three, four. So if he draws another land, he could Through the Breach next turn. The flip side of this, though, is... So say we hold him off. That gives him 2 more draws. By the time we start actually doing any damage... Risk reward. If he hits a land and he's drawn into a creature to go with this Through the Breach, we're in trouble. If we blow up the Utopia Sprawl, we're still giving him at least 2 turns to draw into it. So if we play the Tarmogoyf now and he doesn't have it, he's dead in 2 more turns. If we blow this up, play it the next turn, he's still got to get 2 more lands. I think we actually have to abrupt decay the Utopia Sprawl here. Sad as that sounds. We're just too close to just potentially being dead to Through the Breach the next turn. Which actually makes me think this is obviously not green land destruction, but actually tooth and nail. So we're probably going to see a Garruk here. No, alright, just we just need to fade a land for a couple turns. Honestly, one of the best draws we could have our next turn would be actually another land, allowing us to play our Tarmogoyf while holding up some marginal removal. So he's got 5 land anyway. If he had drawn whatever he drew, again, let's say we had attacked this turn, he'd be at 12. Short of drawing a whatever it's called, Temur Battle Rage this next turn. If he had it, we'd be done. So he could Through the Breach as a blocker. Yep, okay. So we have him on a 1-turn clock at this point. That land makes me think he probably missed it. So he's actually hard casting the Simian Spirit Guide because he doesn't have it. And that should be game. Yep. Whew. Whew. Tell you what. That is scary. Alright, so on the plus side, I remembered to update the match status. I know it's the important things, the little things that people care about. So I think we definitely want to bring in Surgical Extraction here if we see some of those good cards. I don't think Ghost Quarter or Fulminator Mage are particularly necessary. Ghost Quarter in particular is not going to be good because he obviously has plenty of basics. Fulminator Mage could be alright, but it's unnecessary and we really don't want to be bringing bringing in anything more than needed. It's possible Collective Brutality is wanted because the biggest problem cards are Tooth and Nail and Through the Breach, and Collective Brutality hits both of those. And again, if we're trying to pair it with the Surgical Extractions, I think Fatal Push, so far all the creatures we saw are pretty soft to Tarfire. I think we could probably pull... We want to keep the Forest in this one just because of Blood Moon. I think we don't need the Kolaghan's Commands based on what we've seen. Liliana of the Veil versus Liliana the Last Hope. I definitely like Liliana of the Veil better here. Quite possible that both are good, but I think trying to keep them light on cards in hand is going to make it harder for them to combo out. And then I do want to pull at least 2 Fatal Pushes, probably 3. Looking at the rest of the deck, yep. Or sorry, those are staying in, these are coming out. So we think Tarfire can hit the rest of the stuff. Oh, you know what? Shoot. Terminate, and let's just pull that last Fatal Push. Just in case we see something a little bit bigger, like a Primeval Titan. We are on the draw. I actually like this hand. Gives us access to fetching both of our manas that we need. We do have access to the turn 1 Thoughtseize. We are going to get a draw. Bauble should run us into some extra cards, obviously. Tarfire means we're in a position where our whatever you call it is going to be good. Traverse. So I actually like this. Despite the fact that it doesn't seem to have much early pressure, this does also give us a little bit of a aggressive slant later. Alright, so pretty happy. Opponent didn't play out a turn 1 creature. We would have Tarfired it had he done that. Since he didn't, we're going to go for a black mana source and Thoughtseize. So we're actually okay with him beast withinning us. Blood Moon, again, potentially could be a problem, but I'm less worried about it than other stuff. Especially knowing that no, we don't actually. He is going to have time to Blood Moon us with the Simian Spirit Guide. And he has plenty of forests. It's possible we should have Mishra Baubled here first just to see. Okay. So we also know he has a crypt. But we should have possibly baubled there first to make sure he wasn't just going to draw another Blood Moon. Then we could have taken the Simian Spirit Guide instead. So now we're in a weird spot. We can definitely... Let's see, we can get down to 14-12 with the Tarfire and play a Death Shadow. But if we do, we're giving up access to green in case he draws another Blood Moon. Beast Within can definitely handle the Death Shadow, but it gives us a 3/3, which is bigger than anything they have on board. We have a Terminate for Goblin Dark Dwellers. Here I think we actually are just going to run the risk. I mean, you could always peel a top deck bolt, but sometimes those are the risks. So he's actually using his Simian Spirit Guide to cast Beast Within right now on his own land to give him a 3/3. That is interesting. So we're all right with him attacking, because that just makes us bigger. We have a Terminate. Attacks us for 3 again, it's going to put us to 6. This puts us to 4. 6. We do want to stay out of bolt range. So if we actually just use Ghor-Clan Rampager right now, we have lethal next turn with the Terminite to remove a blocker. We can fetch for lethal. or he's going to do enough damage to make us lethal on the crackback. So if he attacks us, that makes us have lethal on the crackback, so he can't attack, which means we should be able to terminate, crack our fetch, put us down to 4, and still get lethal. Unless he draws something that changes the equation. Alright, opponent just scoops to that. So we get a turn 4 win. So that puts us 2-0 in the match. And 2-0-4-1 in the league. I am curious, I think we kept our opening 7, but I just want to check that out real quick. Yeah, we kept the opening 7, so yeah, without seeing the opponent's entire thing, I mean, it's possible that this was land destruction because of the Beast Within and the Blood Moons, but the fact that they were running through the breach makes me wonder if it's actually the Tooth and Nail deck. I guess we don't really know. Didn't see any other land destruction, saw Blood Moon. I think you would see Blood Moon in both of those decks anyway, so although I don't know, Goblin Dark Dwellers actually seems more with red-green land destruction, and I think the Blood Moons are probably less likely in the Tooth and Nail deck because they're trying to ramp out to Tooth and Nail as fast as possible, and Blood Moon probably slows that down. So I would actually assume that this was probably still just red-green land destruction, and like red-green land destruction tends to do, they tend to just have really clunky slow draws and aren't fast enough. So anyway, quick 2-0 start to this league, and we'll be back with the next match soon.